Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. It's Anita. Today we're going to be talking about cheating. Specifically cheating, the only thing in this world that is worth cheating, which is aging. Now, none of us wants to grow old. We all want to remain young and pretty forever. If we could all be Peter Pan, we would be. But sadly, that is not the case, and inevitably we all do grow old. However, there are things that you can do in order to slow down the process of aging and even reverse some of the signs of aging. That is exactly what we're going to be discussing today. So how do we cheat aging? Well, the best way, scientifically proven, to cheat aging is through a process called intermittent fasting. Now, some of you may have heard of this as a fancy buzzword for a fancy new type of diet or a fancy new trend, but it is so much more than that. In fact, intermittent fasting is not even a diet. Essentially, intermittent fasting is an eating plan. It's an eating plan that focuses on when you eat rather than what you eat. And yes, you heard that right. You can eat whatever you want to eat and still lose weight as long as you shift when you are eating. Crazy, right? It's not a diet, it's more of a schedule for your eating. So what we're doing is taking your eating and giving it its own little timetable. With intermittent fasting, what you essentially do is you fast continuously for a certain number of hours every day, and after that you have a certain number of hours within which you can eat whatever it is you want to eat. The best thing is that it's been scientifically proven by multiple researchers that it can burn fat, prevent certain diseases, and even reverse some existing diseases. For example, it's been shown to lower insulin levels. It's also been shown to enhance your memory and decrease inflammation in your body by reducing oxidative stress. It's also been shown to boost your metabolism, which aids in the fat burning, and it's also been shown to reverse certain diseases. And it's been shown to boost cellular regeneration as well, which is the creation of new cells in your body. So who wants to learn more about how you can cheat aging and burn fat at the same time? It almost sounds too good to be true. I mean, cheating aging and burn fat at the same time? What? In fact, some people would even argue that intermittent fasting is our natural state as human beings. Because if you think about it, in prehistoric times, we didn't have ready access to food whenever we wanted it. In fact, before humans learned to farm, we were hunter-gatherers, which meant that we would often go for long periods of time without food and would only be able to eat after a successful hunt, which could even be several days at times. So we have actually evolved to go for long periods of time without eating. In fact, our bodies are more than capable of thriving without food for many hours and even several days. So most people nowadays with ready access to food tend to eat throughout the entire day. You eat from the moment you wake up to shortly before going to bed. And what this means for your body is that your body is going to be running on the calories from the food that you have just eaten rather than burning your existing fat reserves for fuel. And the reason intermittent fasting works for fat burning is that you're essentially stopping the eating process for several hours at a time, allowing your body to tap into your fat reserves for fuel when it needs it. So you could essentially be doing nothing and your body will be burning away your fat. Talk about getting a six-pack without exercising. Let's break intermittent fasting down and see what happens in our body hour by hour once we start fasting. Right after we're done eating, digestion starts almost instantly. Carbs are broken down into glucose and released into your bloodstream, elevating your blood glucose level. This elevated blood glucose then triggers a hormone called insulin, which then stimulates the absorption of blood glucose into your tissues, which then use this glucose for energy. Insulin also helps store energy for your body. It converts the glucose into the stored form called glycogen, which is then stored in our liver and muscles to be used at a time when we need it. And once our glycogen stores are full, the excess is stored as fat in our fatty tissue. And as long as we have glucose in our bloodstream and our glycogen stores are full, our body will not use our existing fat reserves for energy. So no fat burning will happen. So essentially, fat burning only starts once your glycogen stores have been depleted and your blood glucose levels have dropped. After 8 to 9 hours of your last meal, your food has now been digested, your insulin levels have dropped, and your blood sugar levels have decreased. And as soon as your blood sugar levels decrease, your body starts to produce another hormone called glucagon. And what glucagon does is it breaks down those previously formed glycogen stores back into glucose, elevating your blood glucose levels once again. This is to ensure that your vital organs have a constant supply of glucose in order to keep functioning. Now, after 10 to 11 hours, your glycogen stores have been depleted and your body now needs to tap into larger energy reserves, which is essentially your fat reserves. And your average 70 kilogram person has around 80,000 calories stored in the form of fat. And if your body consumes 2,000 calories a day, that's more than a month's reserve of calories stored just in the form of fat. So now that your body needs to tap into those fat reserves, it starts to produce new hormones that can do that. And these include hormones like insulin-like growth factor, human growth factor, triiodothyronine, testosterone, and also adrenaline. Now, after 14 to 16 hours, your fat hormones are now busy at work burning away those fat reserves, and as a byproduct of this, fatty molecules called ketones have been produced. And this process is called ketosis. Ketones are fatty acid molecules that essentially provide energy to your brain, your heart, and your other vital organs. They have also been shown to activate molecules that have a direct effect on our health and aging process. They also activate brain-derived neurotropic factor, which has a direct effect on our neurons. It promotes the survival of our neurons, synaptogenesis of neurons, so forming new connections, repair of any damage in our neurons, and it also promotes the growth of new neurons in our brain. So essentially, BDNF helps preserve our intellectual capabilities. Now, after 16 hours of fasting, a process called autophagy kicks in. Now, this is a process where old damaged cells, damaged proteins, damaged organelles within cells, toxins, and also non-functional cells are cleaned up from our body and recycled. This is an incredible process that removes all of the old damaged cells and helps to regenerate new ones. Not only that, it also boosts the function of our existing cells, helping give them a longer lifespan and hence extending our own lifespan. It basically slows down the aging process and helps in cheating aging. Autophagy has also been shown to protect against genome instability, and by doing this, it prevents the expression of certain diseases like cancers, neurodegeneration, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and also infections. In fact, a study into the process of autophagy even won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2016, which I have linked down below. Here is an image from a study by Cabo and Madison from Johns Hopkins University that they published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2019. What this photo essentially shows is that the cells in our body basically respond to intermittent fasting by increasing our antioxidant defenses, our DNA repair abilities, mitochondrial biogenesis, downregulating inflammation, and enhancing autophagy. So as you can see, intermittent fasting is so much more than just a calorie restricted diet. In fact, it doesn't even need to be a calorie restricted diet. The benefits you get from intermittent fasting exceed those of a calorie restricted diet. So there are plenty of methods to practice intermittent fasting, and depending on whether or not you've tried it before and how comfortable you are with fasting, there are different methods that are recommended. For example, for a beginner who's just starting out, the 12-12 method is best recommended, where you fast for 12 hours and then you have a 12-hour eating window. There's also the much more common 16-8 method, which is recommended for absolutely everyone, where you fast for 16 hours and then you have an 8-hour eating window. Another common alternative that's becoming more and more popular is the 5-2 method, where you only fast for 2 days of the week, and within these 2 days you could practice any of the fasting methods. You could fast for a whole 24 hours if you want to try something more extreme, or you can do the 16-8 method for those 2 days, or even a 24 method where you fast for 20 hours and you have a 4-hour eating window. Whatever suits you and whatever you're comfortable with. What Cabo and Madison showed that reducing calorie intake for even just 1 day a week boosted ketone levels on that day, meaning that on the day that you are fasting, you'd get all of the benefits that ketones give you. It's worth noting that fasting may not be for everyone. For example, if you are pregnant, have an existing eating disorder, or if you are on medications for diabetes, it is best to first consult your doctor before considering fasting. And if you're at all unsure if fasting is for you, again, always best to speak to your doctor first before trying it out. And if you are new to fasting and need some assistance to start with, there's a wonderful app that I use called Fastic. There's a free version and a paid version. The free version basically gives you everything that you could possibly need to get started, which is a fasting timer, a guide on fasting, and basically little snippets of information that help you along your fasting journey. So for anyone considering trying it, give Fastic a go. It's completely free and will help you get started with fasting. I've so far been practicing the 16-8 method of fasting, and I plan on making a separate video on this to see the changes I felt in my body before and after and what the overall difference was. So keep an eye out for that. In the past, the longest I've ever fasted for continuously was a 4-day fast, which is is quite extreme, so I don't recommend anyone try it. Start with your 12-12 fast and then progress onto a 16-8. The 16-8 I believe is a comfortable fast for most people to do every day with some practice and still reap all of the benefits from fasting. And the best tip I have for anyone trying it out is to stay super hydrated. Not only is being hydrated super good for you, but it will also help curb those hunger levels and help you keep going for longer. And for anyone into this, here's a list of famous people who are known to practice intermittent fasting. I did a quick Google search of this and it looks like basically all of Hollywood practices intermittent fasting. And here are just a few of the names. And if you're interested in other resources for fasting, I've linked some of these scientific papers down below. And in addition to those, there's also a TV documentary called Eat Fast, Live Longer by a doctor turned journalist called Dr. Michael Mosley. He has also written a book called The Fast Diet that has become very popular. And there's also a book called The 5-2 Diet by journalist Kate Harrison. And finally, another book called The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. As you can see, fasting is becoming increasingly popular and with good reason. Honestly, it's one of the best things you can do for your body. It's the way our ancestors survived and it's what we evolved to do. And best of all, it cheats aging, getting you looking young for longer and getting your body functioning in optimal health for longer. So if you have been looking for a way to cheat aging, look no further and get fasting. You have absolutely nothing to lose except fat, toxins, and diseases. So that's all on my video on cheating aging and intermittent fasting and burning fat. I hope you guys found it useful, and as always, thank you so much for watching and for your constant support, and I can't wait to see you all in my next video.